Which action camera is actually best for filmmakers? Here I have two of the most popular options, which is the GoPro Hero 13 and the DJI Osmo Action 6. Which one is better suited for you? You're gonna find out in this video. Coming up. Hi guys, my name is Paul, I'm a German-based cinematographer and this channel is all about filmmaking gear reviews, but also DaVinci Resolve tutorials. So if that's something that you're interested in, consider subscribe, that really helps the channel. Thank you. So I've been testing both of these action cameras for quite a while now to find out which is actually the best for filmmakers, because let's face it, at some point of your career you need kind of a really small camera for an additional angle that can fit somewhere where no other camera fits. And especially for that purpose I consider these cameras. So you rig it to somebody's helmet or something like that, or in a tight spaces where you can't fit another camera. So these are the purposes that are interesting for me, and from this point of view I will consider these cameras, just for you to know. Maybe let's start away from the design and also what comes in each package. So overall it's fantastic depending on the package that you actually buy, what kind of range of accessories you have for the Osmo Action 6. So I really like that. I also really like that they have this quick release system here for attaching accessories. So this is really nice. And also I felt like that the doors and everything that you need to open for USB-C and everything like that were just a little bit easier to open. On the GoPro, on the other hand, it was more stiff, which is not a bad thing, but just what was obvious to me. What I like on the GoPro though is that it has a thread here on the bottom where you can actually screw in something for mounting it somewhere. So this is really helpful. Design is obviously a total preference, but I think just the total black design from the DJI is a little bit cooler, but that's just my personal preference. I also did a little bit of an overheating test because both of them are so small, and I have to say that really just by shooting a little bit outside and anything like that, I always felt like that the GoPro was hotter, and also at some point it was even so hot, especially here on the bottom, that was a little bit uncomfortable to hold. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. Then I also did a test where I set both of these cameras in 4K 60 and recorded in the full sun to see how long they last before they're gonna overheat, and both overheated. But the Osmo lasted around 19 minutes, whereas the GoPro shut off after 10 minutes. So that's something that you have to be aware of if you want to. Obviously, when you film in 4K 24, that period of time will obviously extend and something like that, but I haven't tested that in total that far. Let's talk quickly about the menu and usability, and I personally like the menu of the DJI Osmo a little bit more. I found it a little bit more intuitive, having worked with both of these systems, and especially if you want to control your exposure manually, it's a little bit quicker here on the Osmo, because here on the GoPro I have to set my minimum ISO and my maximum ISO, so I basically have to tap twice to fix my ISO, which I don't have to do on the Osmo. So and also just navigating through the menu overall feels a little bit more intuitive for me personally on the DJI. One of the most important factors for an action camera is also the stabilization, and both cameras are known for having great stabilization, and I was not able really to tell them apart just from the stabilization in various different points that I tested them, and I think they are really similar. Also, when you look here where I mounted them onto my camera, onto my helmet when I was riding my bike to the office, also here you see on the cobblestones it was shaky as hell, and I was like thinking, well, is this gonna be stable? But it was pretty stable on both, but I feel like just a tiny bit more fluid on the Osmo, but either one of them will be great when it comes down to stabilization. One other important factor is obviously also the image quality and what recording formats you have. And let's start with the slow motion, because that's what action cameras are also known for. So I tested them in 4K 120, and we directly see that the Osmo looks a little bit more clear. There was also less noise, so I set both of them to ISO 800 to see, how it's gonna look like. And the Osmo is definitely clearer when it comes to that, and also the 4K 120 looks in direct comparison to the DJI a little bit mushier. Not to say that's bad on either of them, but I just found that the 4K 120 looks a little bit better on the DJI. This one has a 5.1 sensor, 5.1K or 5.3K or something like that, and this one has a 4K sensor. But the advantage is actually that the Osmo has a bigger sensor than the GoPro, and that makes it really obvious when we are filming in low light. And I would consider that the GoPro isn't really usable, because up to a point when you go up to ISO 1600, something like that, it got really noisy, whereas the Osmo stayed moderately clean. Still, you need to do some noise reduction, stuff like that, but I think the Osmo is better when it comes to that. Now also, let's talk about the image overall. So color is a subjective thing, so the GoPro leans at the exact same settings warmer than the DJI, so that's something that you just have to embrace, or that's something just like a personal preference, I would say. And what stood out to me really was the sharpness that you have in those cameras. So I was directly seeing that the DJI is a lot sharper, not necessarily sharper in terms of more detail, but it does have really more in-camera sharpening applied. So for my liking, I turned it actually down from 0, which I had, to -2. So the GoPro looks a little bit softer overall. So that is something that really depends on you, what you want basically. But personally, I would turn the sharpness a little bit down, but obviously the DJI Osmo is like sharper of them. One thing that was a little bit strange for me, that aside from all the accessories that they have for the Osmo, there was no case included. At least not what I got. Here you have the typical GoPro case, so I would wish something like that for the Osmo as well. When it comes to me personally, which one would I pick for production or something like that, I think I would go for the Osmo, just for the fact that I think it's like overall a little bit of a better camera. It has a little bit of a bigger sensor. I don't have much concerns about overheating and stuff like that. The only thing that I would wish though is like really a thread somewhere on the camera that can mount it securely, also when you want to have like a mini cage or something like that. That would be a real game changer. But overall, this is a really cool camera. I also like the design here, but that they have a little charging case for your batteries. So this is really cool. Just let me know in the comments below if you have any other suggestions, or if you have any other questions, you know the game, then just drop them in the comments down below. And I'm gonna see you in my very next one. Cheers!